question is, why do I write historical Christian fiction? And that's a great question. And I think that I think a lot of it has to do with I I got saved when I was 6 years old, and very saved. Shortly after I got saved, I wanted to honor Jesus very much, and I asked God what I should do, and He put in my heart that I needed to read the Bible right away. And so, having not been in a church or grown up in church at all at that time, I started, as you do every book, I started from the beginning. Most people that disciple people that come to Christ might start them first and say the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. But I started in Genesis. And I think in that, I began to fall so much in love with the history of the Bible. And I even loved Shakespeare as a little girl. And I remember going to visit my grandparents down in California, Southern California. And my great grandfather had the entire set of original Shakespeare quartos, which is, they're the little books. And anyway, had the whole set of it. And I was fascinated by them. And my grandma would let me look at them. And you had to be really careful because, they were, early 1800s. And so would read them. And I fell in love with the language of Shakespeare. But it makes sense because I had already been reading, the Bible, and I started with the King James Version. So the language was very similar. And but I think obviously God put it in me. I just love history. And I understand that if we don't truly, I mean, just like is credited to Santana, but if we don't truly learn our history, then we're doomed to repeat it. We need to learn from the past, not live there, not stay there, but learn from it so that we can have so much more understanding of where we are. And I love that concept. I met my first Holocaust survivor, I think I've said it before, when I was 6 years old. A lot happened when I was six. And I was fascinated by the story. And I met, there was a Navy SEAL. He was one of the first group that they would consider now the Navy SEALs. And he came camping with his wife. He was very retired. To our campground, and I met my first Navy SEAL, and he talked to me all about the history of the SEALs. I was really little, and I think I've always been fascinated by what's happened and what brings people to the point they are right now. And obviously, I was a writer from the beginning. I mean, God made me that way. I've been asking questions always. I love to learn information, and so I think I've had a love affair with history my entire life. Even when I was in seventh grade and I was trying to decide, I knew at the age of 3 that I was going to be a teacher, that I was a teacher. I didn't understand how God gives a gift of teaching, and it didn't necessarily mean that I had to be a school teacher, but I was a school teacher as well. But I knew it at the age of 3. And before I even knew Jesus, I could just feel it. And I began saving for college. Yes, I was at 3. Harvard, mind you, a little bit of a nerd here. And so anyway, by seventh grade, I knew I was going to be a teacher. So I thought the only way you can be a teacher is you go into, you get your teaching degree and you go into the public school. And so I knew I loved history and I loved English. And at that time, I was like, which one am I going to do? And it was in seventh grade because I had an amazing English and history teacher, Bob Johnson, giving him a shout out, that I fell in love with both. And I realized, well, if he did both, I could do both. And so that's what I ended up doing. And so definitely history has been inside of me, the love of it, probably since I was very little. And so that's what led me there. The fact that I'm a Christian writer, I am a Christian who writes, but I'm also a writer that wants to write the life of Christians and the coming to Christ and just amazing life lessons that we can learn and grow. And I want people to read what I write and be able to put it into their own lives and go, I can do that. I can make those changes in my life. I can grow and come into the destiny that God designed for me. And I really want to inspire that. I think one of the reasons I like to write in the past is because there's so much more leeway. Um, there's no, there's no it's not like today. I can write about a time where the first bicycle just came about. I can write about a time when trains first came on the scene. And I love that whole thing. I love the whole concept of it. I love the beauty of courtship in the past. I believe it should be that way now. Um, I love the simplicity of things that happen in history, even though history is not simple and lots of hardships and different things happen. But there is a beauty to things that happened in a time when there wasn't so much chaos and wasn't so much everything. You're carrying your phone and your iPad and podcasts I'm doing right now. Anyway, but there wasn't all of that. And I love the simplicity of it. I love the language that I can use, the way people talked. And I guess that all encompasses it. I hope that answers the question.